Hi folks, PuffinOn here with the fourth and best idea for saving the world, sex magic. And I'll have to speak up because I'm wearing a towel, and I hope you'll speak up too. So leave some messages and comments and we'll talk about it. Sex is magic. Good sex is magic. It's super magic. Most people experience this when they have good sex, but especially in the beginning of relationships. And this is where it gets into magic and anti-magic. When I first came up with this idea, or when I first decided to make a video about this, about a week ago, I made some notes on it, and I wrote at the top of the notes, the argument for sex magic, which isn't the best word, so I would change it to the case for sex magic. The argument for sex magic implies you're arguing with someone. The argument isn't against someone. The argument is against a machine that is anti-sex, anti-nature, anti-art. This is the same machine that says, sex is bad. This is the same machine that says art is a waste of time. It's the same machine that says we'll chop down your rainforests and dig for oil or whatever. It's that machine. It's an evil machine, and we need to shut it down. Well, one of the ways we shut it down is to save the world with magic. Sex magic is most powerful. Love, sex magic are the most powerful magics. Good sex is magic, and people experience that even who aren't into magic. So I've called myself before a self-certified sex bird. Kind of a joke on Rand Paul, who calls himself a self-certified eye doctor, ophthalmologist. But self-certified sex bird is both a joke and something that we all can be. You can be the expert of your own sexuality, or become the expert of your own sexuality. Nobody else is going to do it. They're going to try to. They're going to try to tell you you're not this or you're not that or whatever, but you're the only one who can tell. And you have to tell kind of like a mystery, kind of like a case. So that's why I think the case for sex magic is way better, because it is a mystery. But it's not a mystery that the clues are too well hidden. For instance, people often say, talk about that sex was magical. Well, they don't say it often enough, but it's a phrase. People say that was magical. So people have the experience of it being magical. And as I said before, people's experience in a relationship are often more magical towards the beginning of the relationship. Now, why is that such a standard process for people to go through? To me, I consider myself a genius, a magical person. I'm very focused on magic and sex. I'm very sex positive. But I still have the same mind, or similarities, connections to the same mindset, the same common knowledge that other Americans share. And we're extremely sexually repressed society. We could be the most sexually repressed society. Maybe not, because other people do it in different ways, more severely, but there's something very complex about the sexual repression in America, and very burdensome. So to overcome that, or to overthrow that, is a big thing. So this is a couple proofs to this point. Some of the best social movements, protest movements in America that ever happened in the 60s. And everybody kind of agrees on this and kind of like, sees it as a watermark not to be passed or something. Well, we need to pass it. It was a sexual revolution that we almost won. And if we had won that sexual revolution, in addition to the other, anti-war, anti-racism, anti-sexism, but they all fit into that. If we'd won that revolution instead of backing down, we wouldn't need another one. But we need another one. And a sexual revolution is the thing they're the most afraid of, because it's the most powerful. And even without a movement around it, as we had in the 60s, or growing to a movement around it in the 60s, we can have that, and hopefully will. But even before we have that, we can do it on our own. I came up with the idea years ago of quantum sex cults, because people understand the quantum universe, meaning there is no center of the universe to measure everything from like some regulated official distance. Everything is the center of the universe. So if you're the center of your universe, then you're the leader of your quantum sex cult. And everybody is. Somebody else participating in your quantum sex cult is the leader of their quantum sex cult. And these spheres have merged. So this is a new model of looking at things that makes it up to the individual, not up to the society to tell you how to do this kind of stuff. And again, I'm not an expert I've only had a few official experiences of sex magic, like intentionally making sex into magic. And they were very powerful and effective experiences. And yet it's almost like, even from magical people, it's too much to ask, because it's not in our realm. So I'm hoping to actually consult with a sex magic expert I recently met, and I feel like I'll have a lot more to say about this in the future, but I wanted to go ahead and get where I'm at now. Um, October, no, wait, no, it's November 2nd now. It's November 2nd, 2021. And um, we're overdue, but it's always the right time. There's always something we can do to liberate ourselves and help liberate others. Sex can be the perfect format for that. We've all had those types of or hopefully, we all can imagine or at least identify with the types of liberating experiences that come with sex. Although I guess they don't really emphasize that part of it that much in our media. They often emphasize like negative consequences. So, yeah, if we focus on those, if we like the system is afraid of sex, magic, and love. They're so afraid of that. Fear itself is destroyed by love, and they run the system on fear. We can replace fear with love and run a whole new system. And it doesn't replace them. They can even still be greedy. See my video on superabundance. Greedy people can still be greedy, and there'll be enough to go around. We just got to get everybody a Nintendo Switch, get everybody Animal Crossing. We can do that. That's not it's only 6-7 billion people on the planet. They're only $300 each. Like, do the math. It's not nearly as much as war. And if we do some stuff like that, and we do some stuff that doesn't even, that just requires our own bodies and our own connection to magic, we can save the world. This saves the world because this same magic is it's magic. We live in an anti-magic reality. I don't want to call it that because like a super reality. The real reality is super magic. But the reality or the normal world we live in is anti-magic. And it's anti-sex, it's anti-art, anti-nature in those ways that I just described. Also, when I say sex is magic, when I say good sex is magic, well, you want to be good, anyway, but it becomes more magical the better it is. And it's not like built in. So like, I think the best analogy is like a piece of art. Two people can see a piece of art and it's not going to affect them both the same way. But what you bring to it can make that magical connection with the piece of art. So in sexuality, it doesn't have to take two people, but what you bring to it is important. And what both people bring to it is important. If you're approaching it from a magical point of view, it opens up more for you both to bring to it. Or for instance, I've made a statement about how we're not really individuals. We are, but we emphasize our individuality way more than we emphasize other things. And another thing we are is the people between us. When we have any interactions with any other people, which is one thing that makes YouTube so interesting, is you can have different interactions with different people at different times. We have many interactions with different people, and there's people between the two people that interact. There's a person that you become. There's a person that you collectively become. Not, you don't change into a different person. They don't change into a different person. But you both collectively become different people. I shouldn't even say one person, but different people. We access different people, and interacting with different people provides more of that access. And of course, sex is one of the most intense and powerful magical interactions we can have. But, the same is true for conversation. A good conversation can have the same magical effect. A bad conversation that doesn't feel as magical, that's not as adventurous or exploratory on parts of the participants, but it's the same with engaging a piece of art. You can engage a piece of art that you're on an adventure and exploring the art and get the magic out of it, or you can just look at it and kind of pass it by. So our mentality, our anti-magic mentality that we've all been taught is beaten into all of us, is to look at these things and pass it by. Even, I don't know from personal experience, my impression is the modern millennials and stuff are so used to swiping left, swiping right, that they're like, oh, well, sex is, not that big a deal. Or it's not appreciated, or it's not, or it's just sex. That's just for sex. I just swipe right just for sex. That's great in a way if it's that easy, but it also makes people like jaded or just unappreciative. It makes people think, oh, this isn't that big of a deal. And that's a win for the system that's trying to diminish sex or make people think, either it used to be too big of a deal or now it's not a big deal at all. Whatever it is, as long as people can't really appreciate it, the system is winning. So if we can really appreciate it, even casual sex, just really appreciate it, or try some sex magic out in those occasions where you're not risking anything. But really, I feel like I came to this conclusion based on relationships and how our relationships end up jaded slash bored slash in a rut. We call them the different things, but it's all the same thing of taking a very magical experience and just having to process it with a less magical mind. So that's the common knowledge mind. And we can overcome that by remembering the benefits of the magical experience and bringing them back into our life, and then seeking out magic in these other natural places: nature, art, music. Again, we experience these all the time. I thought about this listening to rap music the other day, that some people don't listen to the lyrics of any music. They just, kind of listen to the music and they don't really listen to the lyrics. If you're not the type of person who listens to the lyrics, you can probably still appreciate rap music for, rhythm and music and other things about it. But you're not getting, like, when I listen to any music, I'm listening to lyrics, sometimes not closely enough. And when I listen a little closer, I hear Jimmy Buffett say he blew out his flip-flop on Margaritaville, which I've heard hundreds of times, but I never really paid attention to that line. I'm like, that's a great line. But yeah, so I'm listening to some rap music, some old school rap music on KGNU, and it's so good, and the lyrics are so good. But it's like, but if you're not listening to these lyrics, you're not getting any of that. So I'm using that as an analogy for to pay attention to the magic in sex, but in all of your life, and you'll be getting more magic out of it. Thanks for watching. Please share and comment. And again, just communication is a beautiful, good communication is a beautiful type of sex, or sex is a beautiful type of communication. They work together, they work on the same rules as art and music and all this other stuff. It's magic, it's nature, it's wonderful. And they're afraid of it, but they're bad. So we don't have to feel bad about doing wonderful things to replace them with something good. Thanks for watching. See you soon.